And welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking all about this new moon in the sign of Cancer taking place on the 17th of July. So I do just want to say here before we get into this that I planned on coming on here to talk about this new moon over the weekend, but unfortunately I got very sick. So I got food poisoning. Uh, First time. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I'd ever experienced food poisoning. Let me just say, not a fun time. It was. I think it was rice. I think it was rice that I didn't heat well enough. So, yeah, Sunday was fun. Not. And yesterday, sorry, Saturday it happened. Yeah, Saturday was the worst of it. Then Sunday was also pretty bad. But today, slowly coming out of it. Stomach still a bit sore, but I'm getting there. Hello, Danielle. Welcome. How are you? How are you doing? We're going to be talking all about this new moon in Cancer today. So we're just going to get right in. And I just want to also say, if you're new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. If you're interested in booking a reading with myself, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can find my practical astrology ebooks, guide, and merch, all that good stuff. Make sure you comment, subscribe, hit that like button. If you have not already subscribed, of course, subscribe so you can keep updated with further content, further information. All right, so the new moon in Cancer, this is taking place on the 17th of July. How are we finding Cancer season so far, everyone? I believe the moon is still in Aries today. And then, by the end of the day, it will move into Taurus. So that will be quite nice having the sun in Cancer and then the moon in Taurus. Yeah, that would be a nice energy. Of course, the moon being the dispositor of the sun throughout Cancer season. And then with the moon being exalted also in Taurus. So hopefully that will create a lot of ease and stability. And then also with Mars being in Virgo, Mars has just entered Virgo today. I think it perhaps does depend on, your time zone, etc. But yeah, Mars being in Virgo, another earth sign. Yeah, welcoming in some practicality for us all. So hello, Eve. Welcome. Hope you're having a good day. Hello, Eddie. Hello, DI. And hello, Sam. Hope you're all doing well. So there will be a Q&A at the end of this live session. So it's actually $10 per question if you do want to ask me a question about this new moon, about how this new moon may even impact you more personally. So thinking about your own chart, etc. Okay, so let's get into this. Hello, Rena. Welcome. So this is an overview basically of what we're going to be talking about today. So the new moon is going to take place at 24 degrees. And it will also make this trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. It will also make a sextile to Uranus. So this then means that, of course, the sun and moon will make a trine to Neptune retrograde and then that sextile to Uranus. So we'll touch on that today. Also, another interesting thing is this is the final new moon with the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio for a long time. Yeah. So this really will be a memorable day, I think. Even just the lead up to this new moon, I think perhaps is bringing up a lot of nostalgia, considering even the lessons that you have learned whilst the nodes have been in Taurus and Scorpio since the beginning of 2022, so January 2022. So we'll touch on that today as well. And the thing about this too is the nodes, so the North Node will trine Mars in Virgo. And then that South Node in Scorpio will make a sextile to Mars in Virgo. Of course, the North Node is in Taurus there. Then moving over, the Sun and Moon will also oppose Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. So this creates some tension, which we will get into. Then Saturn retrograde in Pisces will oppose Mars in Virgo. So there's some more tension there. Venus in Leo will square Uranus in Taurus, and then Mercury in Leo will also square Jupiter in Taurus. So we've got a mix of some harmonious and disharmonious aspects happening during this new moon. Now, let's think about the 24 degree. Okay, so 24 makes up for the number six in numerological terms. And the number 6 typically points toward things like empathy, love, support, nurturing, caring, being very devoted, showcasing unconditional love. There's a very spiritual, soulful quality to the number 6. And this is quite fitting. I think this is quite fitting. It is interesting to see the sort of connections and the correlations between the moons and the degrees that they fall on. Because with this one in particular, the 24th degree actually highlights then how this new moon will take place in the third decan of Cancer. And the third decan of Cancer is Pisces. Now, Pisces, perhaps as most of us know here, hopefully, even if you're new here, though, that's okay. That's okay. But most of us know here that Pisces rules spirituality. It's strongly tied to your intuition, it's tied to unconditional love. It's tied to empathy strongly, I would say, and being really sympathetic and emotionally understanding toward other people. So to have this new moon take place at this 24 degree, and then with the 6, the number 6 coming into the equation, you can kind of see how they very much connect. And then the other thing about this, which of course we will touch on more, is like I said, there will be that trine. Okay, so the new moon making that trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So it's safe to say that this is a very watery moon. And what I mean by that, it's a very emotional, sensitive moon. It's really a time to reflect. It's really a time to give thanks, to stop for a moment and to reflect upon how we're feeling, to comfort ourselves, to soothe ourselves, to consider what our emotional needs are, to focus upon our soulful connection, thinking about our spiritual life, thinking about the type of connection we may have with a higher power, with God. Again, we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then the thing about new moons, of course, is that new moons point toward things like fresh perspectives, okay? Fresh starts, new beginnings, setting new intentions. And then as well, they can point toward reflection. So we can reflect. It's time to really get quiet with ourselves, quieting the mind, focusing more upon how attuned we are with our inner selves, and starting a new cycle. A new cycle is likely when it comes to new moons, which we will touch more on in terms of the degrees as we move along throughout this presentation. And then just a reminder, with new moons, amplified feelings are likely. Okay, we may feel extra sensitive. Our emotions may certainly be heightened during this time period, especially given the fact that there will be that trine to Neptune retrograde. So these are just some keywords tied to the sign of Cancer. I like to go over some keywords. I like to kind of get a feel for, practical applications and kind of just seeing what new intentions we will set or that we may be setting during the new moons, and then even thinking about what we release during full moons. So a good way to do this is to look at the keywords. So Cancer, of course, is tied to, support and being nurturing, being really caring. So this could be a new moon where we are indeed setting out on this new cycle. There's a new cycle. There are new beginnings tied to nurturing, tied to being supportive. And perhaps there is even a fresh perspective here coming along to do with emotional attachment. Maybe it's even a good way to truly reflect and think, well, how supported do I feel? And who and what am I emotionally attached to, in a healthy way, but also in an unhealthy way? And also considering, how often do you take care of yourself and how often do you take care of other people? It's quite interesting because when I really reflect upon the Cancerians in my life, and I'm talking about people who have their sun in Cancer mostly here, but when I reflect upon these people in my life, I notice just how much they want to help. They want to protect, they want to support in any way that they can. And Cancerians are usually the ones who will support you whenever you're feeling sick or whenever you're feeling poorly. And they will encourage you to to take care of yourself. They can have that very nurturing quality to them, or you could say, this motherly quality to them. and they can come across as soft and very gentle. So this goes back to what I was suggesting earlier in terms of soothing. So this is a new moon of self-soothing. This is a new moon of just taking a moment to consider the space that we hold for ourselves and the space that we hold for other people, how we support other people. Now, that, of course, within itself is very complicated, and it's not necessarily a black and white thing. Often in life, we have our struggles. We all have our difficulties. We all have our issues, the things that we battle with daily. So when it comes to supporting other people or trying to showcase some type of empathy, that could be hard if you're really struggling yourself. If you're not feeling in a good way, if you're not feeling happy in your life, it can be difficult to reach out, for example. And I suppose at the same time, this is why it's important to reach out to other people in our lives, to really see and to check in on how they are feeling. So there is that. But of course, at the same time, you can't force people to open up or to share. That's the thing as well about Cancerian energy. It can be closed, it can be guarded, it can be defensive and protective. And that, of course, is necessary a lot of times in life. I think Cancerian energy looks at how we can come out of our little shells, so to speak. And that requires trust. I think that requires some type of likability, or that requires rapport. When you build rapport with someone else, then you're more likely going to let them in. You're more likely going to open up and share how you're feeling. But yeah, as I say, there can be this protectiveness. And if we are super guarded and we're resistant and we don't want to share, we don't want to open up, that can be difficult. And other people can't force us to do that. We have to make that move. And I think that Cancer, as the first water sign, shows us the importance of this, that it does start with ourselves. And that no matter how many people in life, try to reassure us, try to show empathy, try to support us, if we don't accept the reassurance, if we do not accept that support, we're not going to get anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. So, yeah, I think the new moon in Cancer may highlight these types of themes, may bring up these emotions, these feelings. And another thing, of course, is considering these sentimental qualities to Cancer. This may be a new moon where we are indeed very sentimental, or we're deeply reflective about the past, about family, about how we were treated, about how we were cared for in the past. And of course, that can look differently to all of us, depending upon the type of childhood you had, type of childhood you experienced, or even thinking about the ways in which you perceived your caregivers, the ways in which you perceived your family growing up. Still, this is a sentimental time. And so even bringing this back to the fact that the nodes are going to be in Taurus and Scorpio for one final time during a new moon for a while. Okay, it's going to be for a while. Of course, the nodes will re-enter these signs in a few years, a good few years. But I think this is highlighting this sense of nostalgia, or, really reflecting upon, okay, well, what have we learned? And are there sentimental feelings? Are there certain attachments that were formed? Are we sensitive about what occurred? And what ways in which, so how do you feel basically about the things that took place whilst the nodes were in Taurus and Scorpio from January 2022? And then let me think if I can perhaps touch on anything else during this new moon in terms of what we may reflect upon, what we may become quite quiet upon. Perhaps another thing would be quieting ourselves and considering security, our emotional security. And for example, how up and down are we emotionally? Do you consider yourself to be quite an emotionally stable person? Or can you be quite chaotic in your emotions? Can they fluctuate a lot? Are there any imbalances there? Maybe there is just something about, okay, taking a moment just to go inward and to see how calm or how secure you feel, how able are you to regulate your emotions as well. Are there any, again, imbalances present? But of course, again, this really all depends upon your own experiences, and it depends upon even your own moon sign and your own placements, etc. But it's still, the new moon still point toward a time of reflection. And it's also a time of a fresh start, okay? New beginnings. So, on that note, seeing as I mentioned new beginnings, I want to take you back. Okay? Or sorry, I want to take you forward. So, the first thing is the moon is home in Cancer, okay? It's home here. The moon is comfortable in this sign. Now, I want you to perhaps during this new moon to reflect upon a couple of things and to consider what is coming up for you in the next coming years, okay? So, we will experience a first quarter moon, April 2024. So, first quarter moons usually point towards our commitments being challenged. So, whatever intentions you are setting during this new moon with regard to your security, especially your emotional security, okay, with regard to your emotional needs, with regard to support and nurture and comfort, etc. So, whatever intentions you're setting during this new moon, these intentions are going to be challenged. That your commitments to these intentions are going to be challenged during that first quarter moon in April. That's April 2024. And then come January 2025, there will be this full moon in Cancer, which will take place around the same degree as this particular new moon is taking place. So the new moon in Cancer is taking place at 24 degrees. So that full moon will take place around the same degree in January 2025. So there will be then a release, there will be shedding, there will be an illumination, there will be this reaping of rewards tied to the very intentions that you're setting today. Well, not today, but on the 17th of July, around that period. Okay. And then finally, there will be the third quarter moon in Cancer come October 2025. And so, this also then looks at, okay, some more realizations, really considering, okay, well, what else can I learn? What else is there to be experienced here? So I just need to pull something up very quickly. And I also want to say hello to anyone else who joined who I did not say hello to already. Welcome to this presentation. We're talking all about the new moon in Cancer. Okay, so yeah, just following on then from the third quarter moon that I was talking about, there's some more adjustments required then during that third quarter moon in Cancer in October 2025. And again, that's going to be around the same degree as this new moon. So just consider these dates, really. Think about, journaling. I know for me, after discovering this fun way of looking at things in terms of the new moon to the first quarter moon to the full moon to the third quarter moon, I have been journaling, and I enjoyed doing it actually with the full moon in Capricorn that we all experienced a couple of weeks ago. So there was the new moon in Capricorn that took place around January 2022. And then that's when I actually started journaling, moon journaling I'm talking about here. So it's been interesting to kind of see the process, the progress that has happened from then until now, and I want to keep doing it. So if you want to take part in this, I strongly recommend it. It's a good way to kind of really see what's happening on a more like specific level, especially if it is that you have placements in the sign of Cancer or in any of the signs, you know what I mean? Because of course the moon's going to change and it's going to happen. The new moons and full moons are going to happen in different signs, but especially if you have any placements at those degrees, okay, depending on where the new moons and full moons take place. Okay, So, like I said, with the sun and moon, there will be that trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So, this could very well be a matter of taking a trip down memory lane. And the thing about this too that I want to mention is let's consider the fact that there's so many retrogrades happening this summer. Okay, we have let me think. So we have Pluto retrograde right now in Capricorn. Okay, we have Saturn retrograde in Pisces. We also have Neptune retrograde in Pisces. We've got Venus retrograde starting from the 22nd of July. Then we have Mercury starting retrograde from the 23rd of August. Then we have Chiron retrograde. I'm pretty sure that starts before Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Chiron retrograde, I think. Oh, my dates. I think it's sometime after the 17th of July, but I may need to double check the date. But yeah, Chiron will be retrograde this summer, basically. Okay, and then we'll also have Uranus that will turn retrograde around the 28th of August, I believe. And then finally, around September, Jupiter will turn retrograde, which it's funny because I always used to think, I know this may sound really silly, but I always used to think that with autumn, right? September, but that was when I was really young, of course. But really, summer lasts up until the 22nd of September, 21st, 22nd ish of September, the beginning of Libra season. So before I was an astrology lover, an astrology nerd, I, yeah, I didn't realize that summer, that was exact up to that point. So technically, I mean, Jupiter then turning retrograde, that's going to be another retrograde over the summer. So yeah, that is really interesting. There's a lot going on basically this summer, and all those retrogrades really do highlight then the reflection. Okay, the whole thing of taking a trip down memory lane, especially with Venus retrograde, especially with how it's going to make these in conjunctions to Neptune retrograde, and there's going to be squares and everything to Jupiter and Uranus. I mean, it's going to be a summer of really this just experiencing this romantic nostalgia and also tuning into our inner child, okay? Thinking about our creativity, pleasure, play, reconnecting with these things in a whole new way. But such things I think are going to feel kind of serene or sort of blissful, or just feeling like we want to go back there, right? Back to that place, back to that point, back to the love, back to the connection. Though at the same time, just be cautious of delusions, okay? Be cautious of taking the bait, be cautious of empty promises, false words, all that good stuff. So, anyway, trip down memory lane during this new moon. And then it's also looking at the dream. What is the dream? What are your dreams? What do you truly desire in life? This is a good time to set those intentions, to plant new seeds. And then, of course, following along with the movement of the moon in Cancer, just keep up to date with that to see, okay, right, I'm setting new intentions to do with these dreams of mine. How are things going to unfold 9 months from now? Okay, well, but what about the full moon in Cancer? A good 18 months or so from now. So yeah, keep up to date with that. Prayers as well. This is a time for prayer, giving thanks. This is a time for spirituality. This is also a time of looking at our spiritual practices. This is also a time of mirroring. It's like when you cry, I cry. When you're happy, I'm happy. I just think this is such a merging emotional time for many of us with this new moon in Cancer. And it can be very healing, very cleansing, very revitalizing. So many feelings. This is definitely a new moon that will get us in our feels, especially with that trine to Neptune retrograde. Like I said, a lot of reflection happening, being kind-hearted, feeling loving, showing love, showing empathy, wanting to help others, wanting to help those who are vulnerable, those who really need our support, wanting to care for animals. I mean, right now, their neighbor's cat. I've talked about the neighbor's cat in these live streams before, but she's just so cute, and she is sitting out in the garden, curled up in a little ball, sleeping. She's sleeping out there, and it's actually raining a little bit, and I'm thinking, why are you out there in the rain? And I'm feeling sorry for her. I'm feeling sorry for her. But then I have to remind myself that she's not my cat. And also, I'm working right now. But yeah, I'm just feeling the empathy for that cat. So yeah, the new moon in Cancer may have us feeling these types of ways. Maybe towards a friend, maybe towards your partner, maybe towards a relative. And then also looking at support, supporting those that we love. And this is also quite a sacrificing new moon. Okay. Thinking about self sacrifice and the sacrifices that we make in life. I think we all can sacrifice a bit of ourselves in life, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so perhaps the new moon is going to highlight the ways in which we do sacrifice. So, like I said, the sun and moon will sextile Uranus and Taurus. So, this aspect is actually stronger than Neptune retrograde because the degrees are closer. But this looks at the future. Okay. New ways of supporting our families, new ways of supporting ourselves, maybe even thinking outside of the box when it comes to self sacrifice, the stuff I was talking about a moment ago. New ideas about our security, about kindness, about safety, about emotional support, thinking about love and closeness, just new ways of doing things, new ways of showing up, new intentions. All right. Again, going back to the intentions that we set, the plants that we are planting, or the plants that we are planting, the seeds that we are planting, Hannah, the seeds that we are planting, really thinking then about these seeds and how we may wish to do things in a different way, right? How our intentions are going to be more outside of the box this time around. We may be surprised during this new moon. We may surprise ourselves when it comes to the intentions we set. You could have been setting intentions during a new moon in Cancer years ago, and it was just a bit more boring. But during this new moon, you're setting intentions and you're thinking, wow, okay, that's bold. Okay, you're going to make that happen. All right, let's see. Show us what you got. Hey, you never know. You never know when it comes to Uranus, right? So it could be that you're extra out there, okay, when it comes to any security intentions or even financial resource intentions during this new moon. And then yeah, you could very well surprise yourself with how things unfold. Also, looking at the unconventional, looking at things that perhaps aren't so traditional. Yeah, supporting in a way that is less followed. It's not really about following the crowd. It's not really about societal expectation or about group expectation. Or even it's not even about the pressures that we put on ourselves. A lot of the times it is like the pressures that we are putting onto ourselves. But I think it's more about being able to follow our own path during this new moon, our own path when it comes to home, family, emotional security. And then I think as well, expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected when it comes to this new moon. Like I said, you could surprise yourself with the intentions that you set. It could also be that we are surprised. We are emotionally surprised by family members, by lovers, by friends during this new moon. And maybe there is this sense of feeling excited, feeling excited or feeling inspired about the future or wanting to make things happen with our loved ones. Or it's that we come up with all these new ways of how to support those that we do love. There's just this different view, having a different worldview. And then it can also look at betterments, ways in which we wish to improve upon our emotional connections, thinking about our emotional attachments, Perhaps it is that we can improve things, we can better things. Of course, Uranus can look at detachment and being more observant. So maybe that within itself shows that change. Or, it could be that we try to find some sort of harmony there. Looking at, okay, there is an emotional attachment there, but we can be attached to people emotionally whilst also being able to more so focus upon our own observations too, rather than kind of getting lost in it. And maybe that can even help support us with the trine to Neptune retrograde with Pisces there, because that can even highlight, okay, merging so much, we're talking about getting so much in the fields. But Uranus can come along and give us a healthy sense of, okay, let me just observe. Let me not get too caught up in this emotional wave. Let me kind of think for myself here for a moment. Hello, I just want to take a moment to welcome any new members. Hello, Vanessa. Hello, Sorsha. Hello, Morg. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Hello, Karina as well. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Mari. Rena, I think I already said hello to you, Rena. Eve, I think I already said hello to you. Yeah, I think I've said hello to everybody so far. But yes, welcome. Okay, Mercury will also square Jupiter, and then Venus will square Uranus. Now, what I want you to remember with this one in particular is that Venus retrograde will start to square Uranus in July, which we will touch on in a moment. But what I think Mercury square Jupiter is highlighting is, okay, this is something to maybe be cautious of during this new moon. It's the whole big talk, okay? Just talking for the sake of talking, or talking because you want to impress, talking because you want to put on a show for other people, or because you want the attention. But when it comes to the actual follow through, when it comes to the commitment, when it comes to the, okay, put your money where your mouth is, things aren't necessarily clear. Okay. So yeah, this could be a matter of just exaggerating the truth, exaggerating your experience, exaggerating, oh, this is the best thing ever, or oh, like you're the most amazing person ever. It's just like, okay. Just take a moment to read into the actual value, the validity. What is valid? Okay, what is clear here? I think often in life we can come across these situations. It could be people, could even be times when we are like this, where we can say something like, oh yeah, no problem, I will do that, or oh yeah, that was the most amazing thing ever, and oh yeah, I will see you next week and we will catch up then and we will do this, etc., etc. But we may not necessarily do those things, and maybe it was just in the moment that we said those things, or maybe it's even looking at how we can oversell a point or overmarket ourselves. So yeah, that could just be in a more, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing either, I'm just saying this could be where we unintentionally just express or share in a way where it seems like an amazing thing, it seems great and wonderful, but when it comes to the actual execution, uh, yeah, it's almost like, well, okay, you were just talking the talk, but you didn't walk the walk. You were just preaching for the sake of preaching. You weren't actually like living according to the things that you were preaching. So yeah, I would say just be cautious of these things. But then at the same time, I would also say with this aspect with Mercury square Jupiter, this could be a matter of our self-expression is amped up, right? Squares, yes, squares can highlight, some disharmony, but like any aspect, it can also look at some interesting qualities that can be helpful. And so I think that the self-expression being amped up can be a useful thing. And having this sense of like eagerness and confidence in what we're saying, and seeing the value in what we're saying, and being sure about what we're saying, these things can be highlighted then during this new moon. Now, like I said, Venus retrograde there will square Uranus in July. So I think with Venus square Uranus here, I think that it can look at, okay, these breakthroughs to do with our values, relationships, and talents, but also feeling stuck or uncertain, or looking at where we are stagnant, or thinking about what we want to break away from. This type of energy can be the type of energy that just kind of goes, right, I'm out. I'm out. Or if we consider the crossover, right, if we consider both Mercury square Jupiter and Venus square Uranus, if it is that we feel as if people are very much just about exaggerating their truth and it's about show off in a communicative way, perhaps this Venus square Uranus part shows up as us really detaching in such an abrupt way, getting to a point where it's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to listen to this. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. See ya. Oh, yeah, you promised you're going to do that? Yeah. Okay, I see through it. Okay, whatever. Whatever, says Uranus. And it can even be that there's some sort of abrupt breakups, or it could be that we feel as if we're not being treated fairly, or we feel like we're not being supported enough emotionally, and so it can get to a point of detaching, right? Though of course it can also point toward things suddenly quickly improving and actually feeling more like inspired or enthusiastic about love, and there is this spontaneity present, there is this excitement present. But the thing, of course, about this is Venus retrograde will square Uranus in July, so this will be a way for us to reassess whatever comes up during the new moon. Okay, so well, even right now, okay, because this is still happening, this aspect right now. And even if I zoom in for just a moment, let me just pull this up. I hope you are enjoying this live stream so far. If I go, oh, new moon. Yeah. So this has been unfolding for a good while now. So I'd say for about a week or so, this has been unfolding. This whole relationship stuff to do with these sudden sort of abrupt changes, or these abrupt realizations about our value, about the quality of our relationships, about the substance of our relationships, these types of things. Also thinking about the quality and the substance of our talents, our gifts, our creativity, our skills, etc. Thinking about our resources, our finances, our physical security, really. So yeah, these things have been kind of building and unfolding over the past week or so. But during this new moon, of course, I would still say, okay, the degrees are a little bit wider, but I still think that these themes are still going to come up. And then throughout July, there will be the retrograde, and then we will be revisiting these areas, okay? Now, the final thing I want to mention on this point is to do with asking ourselves, what is the next step? Okay, what is the next step for us when it comes to our value, our worth? Venus retrograde will provide clarity when we listen. Okay, Venus retrograde is going to happen. It's going to begin just a few days after this new moon. So, yeah, I think there is something quite intuitive, highly intuitive about this new moon. I mean, it is a new moon in Cancer, but then even with Uranus square Venus there, and then with Venus about to retrograde there in Leo at 28 degrees, from 28 degrees, by the way. Yeah. And Venus will be in Leo at 28 degrees during this new moon. So, yeah, I think there is this intuitive quality as well highlighted. Of course, Uranus can be strongly intuitive. And then, yeah, looking at, okay, well, what is the next step? What about the future? What about the commitment here? what are we? What are we? That's a big thing that's going to come up during Venus retrograde. And what do you want in terms of us as a couple? Or what do I want, right? Thinking about what you want with respect to your creativity, with respect to the things that you physically create in an artistic, musical way. And then thinking about your own sort of self-expression. What is the next step there? And also, considering your sense of identity and your individuality and self-love and self-acceptance. These themes are strongly going to come up whilst Venus is retrograde. So with Venus being at 28 degrees and then with the square still to Uranus during this new moon, I can't help but think that there's going to be a lot of feelings tied to these questions, okay? Many, many feelings. Hello, I just want to say a moment. Thank you and welcome to the new members who have joined. Hello to Misty Mist. Welcome to you. And thank you very much, Rena. Oh, good. And I'm glad I pronounced it correctly, Mork. And you did say your actual name is Morgan, if it's easier. Okay, your actual name is Morgan. Well, welcome to you as well. And thank you for being here. Thank you all so much for being here today. Okay, so the sun and moon will also oppose Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. As you can see, there's a lot happening during this new moon. So the sun will oppose Pluto. The sun and moon will oppose Pluto retrograde. And the thing about this, of course, is there will be a cardinal grand cross, and that will take place on the 22nd of July, right before Leo season begins. See, the thing is, this is just all these connections, my goodness. The same day, Venus will station retrograde. Okay, that'll be on the 22nd of July, and then Leo season begins. All the correlations, this year has just been, right, this event happens, and then boom, this is the next one. And then boom, this is the next one. So we have actually as well with Virgo season starting from the 23rd of August, then boom, Mercury will station retrograde. It's crazy. Anyway, all these connections, interesting. So basically there will be a cardinal grand cross around the 22nd of July, okay? And well, you could say 21st, 22nd of July. But anyway, this means that the sun will oppose Pluto retrograde. And then there will also be the nodes in both Aries and Libra at the time. Okay. But the sun, of course, will oppose Pluto retrograde. It'll be at 29 degrees. So just keep that in mind. And then with this particular new moon, the sun and moon will oppose Pluto retrograde. So this could very well be a situation where the intentions that we set are tied to a release, a powerful release, an emotional release. This could be a situation where we are overcoming something that was quite debilitating or suffocating. Or this could be where we strongly wish to persevere with a particular passion, or it's that we wish to really drive forward with something. But of course, at the same time, with Pluto being retrograde, there is a great deal of introspection, okay? And it's a time even to recognize our personal power and our personal strength. This is also a time to be strong. This could very well be a Taur moment that happens around this new moon, and it will intensify leading up to the 22nd of July. Okay, so that Taur moment, that epiphany, that realization, that collapse, that fall, that crisis, that emergency could very well intensify leading up to July 2022 or July 22nd. And at the same time, considering rebirth, right? Considering transformation to do with Pluto, also an emotional release, which may be needed. Think about anything that has been stored away or bottled up, anything that's boiling beneath the surface. Yeah, this new moon may trigger those emotions, those deeper emotions within us. Very powerful time. Now, like I said, the nodes will be at 0 degrees. So they're spending their final degree. Their final degree. We're coming to the end of this node journey. So, like I said, it's the last new moon during the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio for a good few years. So think back to January 2022. What have you learned when it comes to gaining lessons, really trying to understand more about your comforts and more about being patient and steady and calm, looking at slower movement. I know for me, I have appreciated the North Node being in Taurus because it's taught me so much about the importance just of slowing down. And that doesn't mean that I haven't sped up a lot. I have. I think if anything, this North Node in Taurus, it sort of taught my Aries moon self that when you do slow down, it's so much better because you're able to get things correct. You're able to notice what's around you more. You're able to take things in more easily. You're able to process things a lot more easily. And there is a greater sense of, appreciation and giving thanks. And at the same time, with the South Node being in Scorpio, what is it that you've been, easing up on? What have you been easing up on when it comes to anything that's too fixated? Anything that's too obsessive, anything that's too perhaps even, and I say this with kindness, but of course Scorpio does rule jealousy, but anything that's too maybe jealous or jealous in an unhealthy way, anything that's too emotionally destructive as well. Self-destruction can happen when it comes to Scorpio energy. So thinking about those lessons and how perhaps we have transformed when it comes to these areas. And then I think at the same time, looking at the gifts and the gifts and the talents that can be discovered from the Scorpio energy, thinking about investigation and research and oh my gosh, the South Node being in Scorpio, what a highly analytical period where we're analyzing ourselves and we've been really trying to psychoanalyze ourselves and seeing, why is it that I'm doing this? Why am I acting this way? My goodness, it has been, for me anyway, if I draw from my own experience, of course draw from your own experience with this, but it's been eye-opening because with being in psychotherapy, which I started before the nodes moved into Taurus and Scorpio, but from being in psychotherapy, it's been quite an eye-opening experience. And I would say over the past year or so, I've actually seen drastic sort of, I've seen major changes, basically, major changes. And it does create a lot of effort. Effort is really needed. And I think as well, just in general, when it comes to transformation in Scorpio, that can be quite a slow burner. It can be a slow thing, especially with the North Node being in Taurus. Perhaps it's even taught us that these nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio, it's taught us that when it comes to our personal growth, when it comes to our transformations, that can take time. And we need to be consistent. We need to stick at it. If we want to see progress, if we want to see change, we just got to keep getting back out there. Keep going, keep at it, slowly and steadily. Now, the North Node will trine Mars. So I think this will even showcase during this new moon that there is something about this slow and steady stuff that I was talking about, something about how this slow and steady stuff is connected to our practical goals, our health, our motivations, our drive. Maybe this is even looking at, okay, we're coming to the end of the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio. And so during the new moon, there's a lot of reflecting to do with, okay, my small improvements, the small adjustments that I've made over the past 18 months. There's little things that maybe were overlooked or I don't necessarily notice, but they can actually go a long way. Okay. Or looking at, what, the reason why it's so good to slow down and to just to be more intentional, to be more intentional is because such things can even be helpful when it comes to your health. I'm kind of thinking about the fact that I got food poisoning and how, of course, that was my own fault. Nobody gave me food poisoning but myself, right? It was my own actions. It was my own mistake that led to that event happening. But if I had been more intentional, if I had thought things through more, if I had been more deliberate, or, really thought about, is this rice cooked well? If I had took a moment, wouldn't have happened. So this is what I'm kind of getting at with the North Node making a trine to Mars. And then with the South Node making that sextile to Mars, I think this is going to highlight then a great deal of concentration and focus. Okay. I think even with Mars moving into Virgo from today, I think this is going to provide us with a great deal of focus. Okay. Being able to focus upon our daily routines and goals and responsibilities, etc. And this is also about checking in with ourselves to see what our true intentions are. What our true intentions are, and considering even what our true intentions have been over the past 18 months. 18 months. What our true intentions have been, and is it that there's something coming up here during this new moon to do with leadership and desire and passion and drive as well? And maybe there are certain things that you would like to change, but doing so in really practical ways with Mars being in Virgo. But I still can't help but think that there's a sense of, I think, reflection, reflection, and maybe a great deal of humility is required then during this new moon. Being really honest with ourselves about, okay, well, these were my intentions during this time, or this is what I came up against during that time. Yeah, humility. And Virgo, of course, is a highly humble sign. Virgo reminds us that humility can be a really beneficial thing. Now, the last thing I want to mention, of course, is Mars is the dispositor of the South Node. So that's also why I was touching on the Mars and Virgo energy there. But still, yeah, Mars is the dispositor of the South Node in Scorpio. And so I just think that with Mars being in Virgo during this new moon, I think, let me ponder on this thought for a moment. I want to ponder on this thought for a moment. I think what it even highlights is how connected our psyche is to our bodies. Okay. We think about even the self-destructive stuff to do with the South Node being in Scorpio over the past 2 years, and how that self-destructiveness can be quite toxic to the body, quite unhealthy for us just in general. We think about Mars. Mars is tied to our energy levels. It's also tied to our physical body, I would say. How we get things done, how we drive, how driven are we, how motivated are we. So with Mars being in Virgo, this highly, earthy sign, it's also connected to the body and our health, our well-being, illness as well. So I would say that there's a correlation here between that more psychological side to Scorpio, and then thinking about Scorpio or thinking about Virgo in terms of our physical body. So yeah, perhaps this is a good way for us to, even during this new moon, really set intentions when it comes to our well-being in general. Anything that needs to be released. I'm getting like a what is it? Not a detox. That's what I'm getting. That's the word that's coming to my mind. A detox. Okay, being able to shed old skin. This could be a mindset. This could be the way we approach things. So yeah, I just think that with the nodes here coming to the end, so we're coming to the end of this cycle, and then with the sextile to Mars with the south node, I just think there's this extra hit of health. Consider your health. Take care of your health. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Okay, so this is the last area that I want to mention today. Mars in Virgo will also oppose Saturn retrograde. This kind of ties in with what I was saying at the end, I think, because what this is suggesting is that we only have a limited amount of energy, right? Respect it. Oh my gosh. Just the realizations right now, because I have been thinking about this. I love how, so like I have these certain thoughts that just they linger, okay? They're sort of cemented in my brain. I'm like, and then boom, I have an opportunity to actually share them and connect them in with what I'm saying. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. Anyway, so what I was trying to say there is what I've been finding recently is that it's okay to know your limits. It's okay to know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what we're good at, what we're not good at. I'll give you a perfect example, okay? I'll give you a perfect example because this is what's been coming up for me, right? So one of my best friends is she's moving house, okay? And she is getting help from others who are kindly helping and supporting. My other best friend is also offering kindly to help. And for me, I have not offered to help because I'm terrible. Like, I'm terrible at painting. I'm terrible at building. I'm just like, I'm terrible. I am terrible at all that stuff, okay? And I kind of came to this realization of, I know my limits. And it's also one of those things as well, just in general, right? We got to think of just in general. I think it's one of those things where recognizing what we can and cannot commit to and being so honest with ourselves about what we can commit to and what we can't commit to. And I think it's okay to know what our limits are. And it's so interesting to me because I think often we can have this mentality in life where it's like, well, okay, well, like you're not good at that, but you could be good at that. And so you should just train and you should just work really hard and you're going to become so good at that. Yeah, go, push, push, push. And yes, there can be truths to this, I think. but but I also think that in life, we are limited. We are limited, and I think it's okay to respect our limitations. I think it's okay to be truthful about our limitations and leave it at that, Yeah, respect it with the Mars and Virgo energy opposite Saturn retrograde. Then also listening to our inner authority. Listening to our inner authority. This can also suggest great drive, great devotion, but also knowing when rest is necessary, knowing when we need to just take a moment, knowing when we need to lay down, knowing when we need to process something, recharge. Now, at the same time, when the time strikes, okay, when we are in the mood, when we can commit, when we can agree to that thing, and when we even have the push to the drive within us to be like, yeah, sure, I'm not good at that, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Okay, there's also that part of it. Then perhaps we can put ourselves into that driving mode where we're like, yeah, I'll help, I'll organize, I'll fix. Yep, give me that task, I'll do that. Now, this can also look at distraction. This can also look at physical and or emotional fatigue, not wanting to face life. Do you kind of see how things can be so conflicted here? Do you kind of see how Mars and Virgo is playing out versus the Saturn retrograde and Pisces is playing out? Because I think that with Mars and Virgo, there can be these energy levels or these energetic rushes of okay, let's help, let's work, let's get the job done, let's look at the details. But then there's also the Saturn retrograde part of it where it's like, I'm just going to respect the fact that I'm not in that flow right now. I'm not feeling it right now. I just need space to myself. I'm actually feeling pretty fatigued. I'm actually exhausted. I'm drained. But then there's the health quality to both. There's this healing quality to both. Of course, these signs, they're on the same axis, okay? Mars and Saturn are on the same axis. And then I think as well, something coming up is feelings of loneliness or worry during this new moon, especially if it is that, maybe you miss some friends or family, or you don't feel close to someone anymore. These feelings can arise. And then with the same token, there could be those of us who need time for ourselves. And then the thing about this as well is Pallas will enter Virgo. Well, it's entering Virgo today. Okay, so 10th of July, Mars in Virgo and Pallas in Virgo. Healing methods tied to yoga, nutrition, exercise. Okay, so these are some healing methods that may be useful or that we may gravitate toward. I know for myself after getting food poisoning, okay, healing methods, nutrition, diet, food. Oh, I'm going to be careful. Also, I would like to take on yoga. One of my best friends actually was suggesting about going to some sort of yoga beach event in the summer. So that would be fun. I would love to get into yoga. Yeah. Personally, I have tried yoga and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't proper, classes. And then I have went to Pilates. Yeah. Think about anything you like to do with respect to movement, exercise. Doesn't have to be anything like super, you know, um, demanding. But yeah, have you tried yoga? Have you tried Pilates? And then as well, I would say with this one, be cautious of spiraling into a dark place due to expectations. Okay, so the expectations that we set on ourselves, okay, often it's ourselves. We place those expectations. Yeah, whenever we do not live up to our own standards, our own expectations, we can spiral. We can spiral into a place of, oh, I'm worthless, I'm useless, I can't do anything. Also goes back to why it's important to know your limits. And it's okay to not be perfect, right? Virgo. Virgo. Anyway, I'm just being kind of goofy when I say that, because I do have a Virgo rising as well, and I can kind of relate. But there's the whole thing with Virgo energy of just being very perfectionistic. And I just think that this aspect is going to point toward these tendencies and looking at, okay, how about you give yourself some grace and recognize that it's okay to not have to do everything or help everyone. It's okay to take some time for yourself. Right. So we're going to move on to the horoscopes now. Now there will be a Q&A at the very end. So if you are interested in asking me a question, you can do so. It is $10 per question, and I will answer it at the very end. And I also just want to say hello to Talia, welcome, and hello to Simon, welcome. So I'm just going to have just a short break. Black Swan, hello to you. You said knowing limits can make us able to grow within them. That's an interesting perspective. Okay. So I will put timestamps at the very end just to let you know. So let's go through your horoscopes. Aries. So this new moon is going to take place in your 4th house. So I see this as you setting new intentions to do with your emotional security, to do with emotional fulfillment. Also, thinking about reflecting upon family matters, living situation matters. Even considering the type of family you wish to be a part of, the type of family you wish to have one day. Okay, this could be, a child related matter, of course, with the fourth house. Also, I see this as you gaining a fresh perspective about support, about how others support you emotionally and how you support others emotionally. And I do think when it comes to you, Aries, that in private, you can be such emotionally supportive people, very nurturing people. I think that you can be very loving and affectionate toward your family members, especially if it is that you're really close. So, yeah, I think this looks like the beginning of a new cycle for you with respect to these areas. Taurus. So, Taurus, this new moon will happen in your third house. Okay. So, I see this as you setting new intentions to do with the ways in which you, of course, you communicate. You can be very empathetic communicators. I think you can be emotionally understanding when it comes to communication and even considering thought. Okay. So, you're going to think in this emotionally understanding way, especially if others need some type of support from you. But of course, this new moon is going to highlight a fresh perspective. This is going to even look at you reflecting upon your own mindset and how it is that you feel in a secure way, okay? Thinking about your own mentality and how secure you feel about that. And also considering as well the types of relationships that you have with your siblings and your cousins and also your neighbors. Perhaps there's a new cycle starting there, a new cycle unfolding for you there, especially looking at anything reactive, like emotionally reactive when it comes to these individuals. And I do think in general, Taurus, you prefer to be close to any siblings or cousins that you have. And I do think that you prefer to feel like, your neighbors are more just they're more emotionally understanding. So yeah, perhaps this is the start of a new cycle for you there. Gemini. So, Gemini, this new moon will happen in your second house. So, I think for you, you will be setting new intentions to do with your earning potential, to do with the ways in which you earn money. Okay. And perhaps it's that you'll even reflect upon, okay, how your emotions are so tied to your resources. They're so tied to your belongings and how much you own, how much you have. You can be somewhat emotionally attached to certain items and resources. And then I think as well, when it comes to your desired lifestyle, when it comes just to how you can support yourself financially, you're going to care deeply about these things. And you may even um, become quite emotional whenever things, aren't so stable. They're not so secure. So yeah, this could be the start of a new cycle for you there. Or this could even be where there's a fresh perspective tied to finances overall, kind of going back to the whole emotional attachment thing with Cancer, or even looking at your security in general. So yeah, a sort of fresh perspective to do with your resources and your emotional attachments to particular resources. Then the final thing I want to mention with this is thinking about your talents and skills. How often you're talented at being this caring individual, and how much you value care and support and being sentimental too and being comforting. Yeah, so this could be the start of a new cycle when it comes to these values of yours, when it comes to these skills of yours. Okay, Cancer. So this new moon is going to happen in your first house. So, of course, this is your new moon. I mean, the sun and the moon, it's your season, are in Cancer. So I see this as you really addressing things in a whole new way, or setting new intentions to do with your life path, setting new intentions to do with your direction, starting a new cycle, really. This could very well be a major new beginning for you, a major new beginning when it comes to your identity, your appearance, your outlook, thinking about your outlook on life. And I think support is a big part of this. And being comforted emotionally is a big part of this. And so recognizing how it is that you wish to be supported emotionally, and what new perspectives do you have then, or what new perspectives come up for you here when it comes to that emotional support, and how you go about gaining that emotional support or showing that emotional support as well. And this start of a new cycle, part of this could even be where there is a new cycle coming up to do with your identity. And of course, the identity changes could be tied to your relationships, could be tied to a job, a certain career path, a certain direction that you choose, a certain place that you decide to live in, or, thinking even about your ambitions, your aims tied to the first house. So yeah, I kind of see this as a whole new journey for you, a whole new beginning for you. Leo. So Leo, this new moon will happen in your 12th house. So this certainly is a quieting time for you, Leo. I think this is a time where it's about, okay, I'm going to really go inward. I'm going to get straight with myself. I'm going to reflect and journal, journaling your feelings, journaling your emotions. Also, reflecting upon any family related matters, especially if it is that there are certain family members that are quite challenging to deal with right now. This is a time just to focus on yourself. And I think as well, this is about revitalizing your energy. This is about just taking a moment to retreat, to be by the water, to bathe, to really take part in your spiritual practices. And you may even gain a fresh perspective about your spiritual practices, about this type of connection that you have with a higher power, a higher source. Could even be a great time for prayer. Could be a great time for visualization, imagining, dreaming. Okay, looking at new beginnings when it comes to the dream. Virgo. Okay, Virgo. So this new moon is going to happen in your 11th house. Okay, so I see this as you planting new seeds to do with community, to do with togetherness, perhaps setting a new plan in place. I suppose that's another part of the new moons. It could be a new plan of action in place. But yes, setting new plans in place to do with friendships and togetherness and unifying. Maybe even it's that you will start to see a fresh perspective about how supported you are within the communities that you're a part of. Taking a moment to really recenter yourself and to focus on, hey, do you know what? Things are really good here, or I am supported here. Or it could be that there's the start of a new cycle with respect to your aims, okay, or your future aims, should I say, your future aims, your wishes, your hopes for the future, okay? So a new cycle could very well occur for you. And perhaps this new cycle is strongly linked to something family related, emotional related, support related. Libra. Okay, Libra. So this new moon is going to happen in your 10th house. So for you, Libra, I think that this is about gaining a fresh perspective about your public life, about your reputation. How supported are you when it comes to the public? How much do you feel seen? How emotionally secure do you feel within your public position? And is it that you wish to begin a new cycle to do with your reputation? Thinking about how you're often seen as this very caring and supportive public figure. Also, you can be seen as a very intuitive public figure, as a tenacious, protective, intuitive figure. So, yeah, I think the new moon will show up as you setting these new intentions to do with your public persona, and also a new cycle connected to your achievements, connected to your life mission, your life purpose. And of course, the thing is that with your achievements and your life mission, they're often linked to the ways in which you do show support. They're often linked to your intuitive abilities. Okay, Scorpio. So this new moon is going to happen in your 9th house. This could be, Scorpio, where you set new intentions to do with your teachings, your publications, the ways in which you broadcast, thinking about the 9th house and how it's tied to broadcasting. So you may consider yourself to be quite emotional when it comes to broadcasting, or it's that you can showcase a great deal of like this powerful these powerful emotions. And you can also be quite influential as well, I think, with your message. So yeah, perhaps it is that there will be this new beginning that will take place, or the start of a new cycle will start to unfold. And then I think as well, there's something here about a fresh perspective to do with your deeply held beliefs. And your deeply held beliefs tend to come from quite an attached place, an emotionally attached place. So, and also they could be strongly linked to your family, right? Your upbringing. So, this could be where, okay, this is about a fresh perspective, getting a fresh perspective. Though the last thing I want to mention with this is if we consider how the 9th house is also tied to advanced training programs, higher education, could very well be, Scorpio, that you begin this new cycle to do with these areas. This could be where you really start to put a new plan of action in place, where you wish to gain a new sort of qualification, or where you wish to step it up a notch in terms of your knowledge. Sagittarius. Okay, so this new moon is going to happen in your 8th house. So with the new moon in your 8th house, well, this is about you reflecting upon shared resources, shared accounts, any debts you have, paying off certain debts. This could be the beginning of a new cycle when it comes to a particular debt, okay? This could be a family related debt, a partnership related debt. And yeah, it's the beginning of a new cycle. And it's about, okay, gradually we will pay this off, we will manage this. Or it could be a situation where you strongly consider, okay, intimacy. intimacy, familiarity, closeness, and not just physical closeness, but also emotional closeness. Considering these areas to do with your partner, of course, and then also thinking about vulnerability and the type of vulnerability that can come out when you're with close friends or relatives. Perhaps it is that you will gain a fresh perspective to do with intimacy and vulnerability, and looking at how you can establish greater closeness, perhaps, but also looking at where you can become quite blocked or limited when it comes to establishing a certain bond, or when it comes to feeling close to others. Maybe there are some childhood things still present for you, Sagittarius, and you're working through those things. And it could be that there's a whole new cycle that begins, it starts to unfold here. And yeah, that will come up for you during that new moon in Cancer, and then it will continue throughout the next couple of years. Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn. So this new moon is going to happen in your 7th house. So this certainly is a new moon of partnership, business deals, collaborations, cooperation. But this is the beginning of a new cycle. But this is also looking at what emotions are underneath the surface. I think there is something about an underlying message, of course, because the 7th house is there, and that's quite an unconscious house. So what emotions perhaps are not being expressed or shared with respect to partnerships and relationships? Or maybe it's that you will gain a fresh perspective about emotional security and what you need emotionally, what it is that you need emotionally, what it is that you need in terms of support. And perhaps these things are to be more so discussed with another. And this, of course, can look at long-term committed partners. This could also be a friendship kind of thing. Also, this could even be a business matter. Okay. But I just get this feeling of, okay, your feelings are strongly going to matter around this new moon. And maybe even these feelings of yours that you experience are tied to a past conditioning. They're tied to your upbringing and how you were nurtured and how you were supported growing up. Yeah. No, though, of course, I do feel the need to mention that with all of these horoscopes, do keep in mind that Pluto retrograde energy, which is opposite, and then with thinking about the sextile to Uranus there, and then the trine to Neptune retrograde that we were talking about throughout this presentation. And I do think that with the Pluto retrograde opposite the new moon for everyone, I think there is a type of emotional release. Okay, there's some type of emotional release just to keep in mind. So yeah, I think for you, Capricorn, there may be this emotional release, especially with regard to what you need emotionally from others and how that's even related to your life path. Okay, Aquarius. So Aquarius, this new moon is going to happen in your 6th house. So I see this as you planting new seeds to do with your work, to do with your services, to do with your craft. Maybe it's about recognizing when it is that you are energetically zapped, or maybe it's about recognizing how you can take care of yourself, how you can take care of your health. Major new intentions here to do with health for you, Aquarius, especially your emotional body. Okay, thinking also about your physical body. And I would say too, just the importance of tuning more in with how you're feeling and how that relates to your productivity, how that relates to the things that you get done on a daily basis. And I also think that there are new sort of cycles and chapters to do with your schedules, to do with your routines. And again, this could be a situation where this is more about feeling. This is more about what you need emotionally Though at the same time, perhaps this is also about looking at how your services and how your work is often tied to something quite emotional and intuitive, and how you wish to begin something new there. And lastly, we have Pisces. So Pisces, this new moon is going to happen in your 5th house. So for you Pisces, I see this as you planting new seeds to do with enjoyment, pleasure, entertainment, and how you wish to spend your free time. I actually think for you Pisces that when it comes to your free time, you prefer to spend it with family, you prefer to spend it being nostalgic, or taking a trip down memory lane. We're talking about the whole taking a trip down memory lane today. I think also there's something here about you having these strong emotional attachments to childhood. I think there's a part of you, Pisces, that never really grows up because there's such a connection to your inner child. This is what I'm actually seeing. But still, the new moon in Cancer is going to showcase how you can gain a fresh perspective about the ways in which you play and have fun. And it could also be that you start a new cycle to do with romance, to do with love. And this is about feelings, okay? This is about experiencing all the feelings, Pisces. And we all know that when it comes to you can be such romantic people, okay? So yeah, I think that this looks at the start of a new cycle, a new beginning to do with romance. And of course that can play out in many different ways, but perhaps it's strongly about looking at those emotional attachments that you form and how close you feel romantically. Okay, so that's the horoscopes for today. I hope that you find them to be helpful. I will link them down below. I'll put the timestamps so you can keep up with your horoscopes there. And I do feel the need to mention that if I have been a little bit off today, I do apologize. It's just hasn't been the easiest couple of days. But I do hope that you find it to be helpful today. Now, if any of you have a question that you would like to ask me, it is $10 per question. You just pay on the super chat. If you have a question, you can ask me a question today. I will wait for a moment and I'll see if anybody responds. But of course, there is no pressure to ask me a question. It is completely up to you. But overall, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. And I hope that you enjoy the ways in which things are presented, thinking about looking at the chart. And I wanted to include the different planets in the certain houses for you, so you can have that as a reference point, to really see, okay, what's going on in my chart. So if anybody has a question, let me know. And if not, that's okay. I feel like I've become a lot calmer. I went into the horoscopes and I feel like I just calmed down a lot. This is the type of approach that I want to have for all videos. Feels calming. I'll even just read through the comments. So, Misty Mist, you said one after another, like your chart. Best advice: deep breath, roll with the flow. I'm not quite sure of what you're referring to, but deep breaths definitely. Yeah. Hello, creator, by the way. Hiya. Hope you're doing well. And Sorsha, you said you're Mars in Virgo. Happy Mars return to you. Black Swan, you said from your own experience in which every new moon takes place, natal chart will show the place in which the new beginnings can flourish. Or the Lord of the sign. So the moon takes place in the position. Okay, so basically the moon would be, well, it would be the moon in this instance, of course. The moon is the dispositor, well, the lord, as you put it. It's the lord of this new moon. So then, for example, with me having an Aries moon, you would say that that's where it would take place for me. I do think it is important to look at your own moon, obviously. I think it's important. I think it can also add more information. Yeah, so basically a Q&A is where you can ask me a question about how this new moon may be impacting you on a more personal level, for example, and it's $10 per question. If you want to take part, it's completely up to you. I just decided to see how this would go, but yeah, it's up to you. But yes, I do think, going off again from what you were saying, Black Swan, I think following on from that, it is important to consider where the moon is for us individually. This is why it's good to consider the whole chart. So the new moon is happening in Cancer, but of course, we all have different moon signs. So someone who has their moon in Cancer and it's around that same degree as the new moon, they may find that this new moon is a lot more potent for them. Can you ask a question that aren't related to new moon transit? Yeah, sure. Just ask a question. You can ask me a question today. So, Saoirse, you have a Libra moon. New moon in Cancer, new relationships for Capricorn rising. Hopefully. And the thing about this too is, it can also be where you're already in a relationship and then the new moon happens and it's more about a fresh perspective, a fresh outlook toward that current relationship. Breezy, hi. Hello. You said you just got here, you popped in. Glad to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to see you as well. Thanks for being here. Well, if nobody has a question about this new moon today. Okay. Natalie, you said, what do I think about mother moon conjunct daughter sun relationship? Oh, hey, I like this question. This is quite an interesting one. Okay, so mother moon is conjunct the daughter sun. Well, let's try and break this down a little bit. So I'm with the mother having their moon in a particular sign. So I would see this as that mother being sort of nurtured in a way based upon that moon, right? But the thing about the moon is it can also look at the ways in which we nurture our own children. Okay, and that can look like many different things for us. So, of course, you have to keep in mind the whole chart. Okay, so you're saying in Aries, Natalie. You're saying in Aries. All right, so let's talk about it from the Aries lens, the Aries perspective. I see the Aries moon mother perhaps being nurtured in a way where it was about, okay, you need to be independent. You need to defend yourself, protect yourself. And that could have been in indirectly or direct ways. So direct or indirect ways. And I also think that when it comes to the ways in which that particular Aries moon mother, so the Aries moon mother will then perhaps nurture their child that way, especially because the sun is in the same sign. This is how I kind of see this anyway, just going off the top of my head. But yeah, I think that there can be this element of then nurturing the daughter in a similar fashion, where it's like the moon in Aries mother is guiding and nurturing that child, where it's more about, okay, it's time to assert yourself. Come on, you can do this. Encouragement. I'm going to cheer you on. It's time to be a leader. I think the Aries moon mother would support the freedom of the Aries sun child. I think so. I think there would be a great deal of support there. Now, with the same token, we got to remember that the sun is tied to the father figure in astrology as well, right? So maybe there's also elements of the father coming into this, okay, where perhaps there are strong features to do with the father. Maybe that daughter, so the Aries sun daughter has a father who showcases those Aries traits of being quite assertive or independent or being a leader or being a doer, etc. But then at the same time, that Aries moon mother supporting the Aries child, the Aries sun child. But yeah, I do think in general that can be quite an interesting pair. And then of course at the same time, what I quite like about that with the sun and then the moon is the moon mother is perhaps seeing a lot of herself in the other person, or in the daughter, sorry. You know what I mean? So, okay, so I'll give you like a funny example maybe of this. It could be where the Aries sun is doing something that is so like daring, right? It's so daring and adventurous and bold. And people think, oh my goodness. And then the first thing that the mother thinks is, yep, that's my daughter. That's my daughter. Or it's that what happens is the family or the friends, whoever it is, when they see the daughter do something quite bold or daring, they turn around and say to the mother, that's your daughter. Do you remember when you were like that when you were a child, Healy? Natalie? I said Healy there just as an example, as a name at the top of my head. And then I said Natalie, of course, because that's your name. But yeah, that's what I'm getting from this. It's sort of like the mother's way of being, especially whenever she was younger, that is reflected. That is constantly being reflected back to her through her daughter. You said both parents are total free spirits. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I hope that answered your question, okay, Natalie. It was a pretty long way of getting to an answer, but I like to break things down. I need to break things down. Natalie, you said yes, you love it. Daughter is just a baby. You definitely see that. Okay, so I'm assuming you're her mother. Or no, I don't know. Are you? I don't know. I don't want to assume. Oh no. I'm sorry if I'm assuming. I don't want to assume. You said yes, you love it. Daughter is just a baby, but you can definitely see that. Your sister and her daughter are the subjects. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad that the answer was okay for you. I'm glad. Now, if anybody does have another question, let me know. As I say, it is $10 per question if you do want to ask. And of course, Black Swan, no problem. Do I use Vedic astrology in readings? No. See, I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I'm a Western astrologer. So that is what I've been studying for the past 7 years. Vedic astrology does interest me, and there are plenty of professional Vedic astrologers out there. I really liked to watch. Is it? Let me double check his name because I haven't watched him in so long, and I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah, KRS astrology. I think probably anybody who's into Vedic astrology has heard of KRS astrology. Yeah, he's been doing it for years and years and years, which I respect that so much. And he's pretty awesome, pretty great. And I can only imagine the amount of work that he puts in to his craft, to what he does. So yeah, I remember especially starting out learning about astrology. This was even when I was quite confused about about astrology in terms of Vedic versus Western. I thought it was all the same thing. But I remember watching KRS and just thinking, oh my gosh, he explains it so well. He's so fun, and just the way he presents it, it's just informative, but at the same time interesting and super engaging. Yeah, super knowledgeable, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I remember getting into astrology, and I found his channel, and I just went crazy just watching video after video, because I don't know if you can relate to this, if anyone can relate to this, but when you get into astrology, you you just want to learn everything and anything about your placements. And so I know for me, I would just watch like video after video about my placements. Like, okay, I've got Venus in Capricorn. I'm going to watch every person who talks about Venus in Capricorn. YouTube, go. Okay. Whatever book I'm reading, I'm just going to skip to Venus in Capricorn. And that's all I'm reading. Okay. So I did that for ages and ages and ages. And then I took it a step up and I was like, right, okay, I better learn about everybody else. Yeah, so it's like I better learn about the other people in my life. But yeah, anyway, KRS's channel is awesome. Creator, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. Really, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you. Okay, so if nobody has any questions for me today, well, Creator, you did ask, how do I think it'll affect me? Um, how do I think this new moon will affect me? The ego took over social. And you said same. I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? I think when we get into astrology, we want to know about ourselves. Yeah, and then it's like, well, let's learn about other people now. Maybe other people did it a different way, but it's just so interesting. Yeah, the curiosity. Um, the new moon for me, uh, I need to actually double check my degrees. Let me just double check my degrees on my chart. Because I have the South Node and part of Fortune in Cancer. Um, just pulling this up. Transits. It's going to be on the 17th of July. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have the part of Fortune at 19 degrees. I wouldn't really put it as strongly impactful. For me, well, okay. The moon and sun will also oppose my Mars. Yeah, strongly. My Mars in Capricorn. So perhaps for me, I feel like what I will be setting intentions to do with will strongly involve my creative projects and what I'm building creatively, and looking at what drives me, what motivates me when it comes to my creativity and my interests and my passions. But I think at the same time, it could be that there's something quite emotionally pulling about it. I think maybe it's about addressing my feelings as well. And so, what, okay, let me not be so vague. Let me not be so vague. So, I think a lot, what has been coming up for me lately is just looking at what I am building, okay? What I'm building when it comes to my creative projects and the sort of expectations and pressures that I often put on myself, okay? I have a lot of Capricorn energy. And with my Mars in Capricorn, when I start a project, I'm so determined to get it finished. Now, that can be a bit of a challenge because at the same time, I do have a Gemini midheaven and I have an Aries moon. So the moon is actually making a square to my Mars. And what I've had to learn a lot is to not start new projects when I know that I'm not going to finish them. And that's not to say I never will. It's just that because I have this thing about me where I need to finish them at some point, but then if I'm constantly taking on new projects, it's going to take an even longer time for me to finish that first round of projects. Does that make sense? So, I think for me, the new moon is going to highlight just the significance of really listening to my emotions and not necessarily giving into the push. Okay, not giving into the, oh, I need to like push and make it happen. And like, oh my God, I need to keep starting new projects and doing new series and making new things all the time. Of course, I can still, I can still be like this, right? I like that okay, I don't want to sound big headed at the same time here. Maybe that's my Virgo energy. But I like that I'm determined, okay? I like that I have this work ethic. I like that I have this really intense drive to me with my Mars and Capricorn. I'm like, yep, get it done, get it done. But when I'm taking on too much, when I'm starting too many projects, that's not exactly healthy for me. And so I think the new moon is going to highlight just the significance of being able to more listen to my own inner authority. Yeah, I hope that made sense. I think that's going to come up for me, especially because I have a stellium in Capricorn, and that can be too much, right? Too much work, 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 work. Too much, okay, I need to achieve, I need to focus on my goals. But this Cancer season and the new moon in Cancer just highlights the importance of finding more of that equilibrium, more of that ability to look at, okay, well, these are your friends and this is your partner, and these are the things that you can do that don't involve working all the time, you know? Okay, let me see. Learning about ourselves is the best way to learn to read for others. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good way. Thanks. I like that perspective. Do I like reading composite charts? Yes, love it. I love reading composite charts. I think synastry and composite is probably one of my favorite things to do. I love it. I've got a few synastry composite charts booked over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I love it. Does the moon in Cancer affect Cancer moons more? Um, yeah, I would say so. I think it's more about, it's it's the same moon, right? This is what Stephen Forrester said in the book The Inner Sky. This book is fantastic to have on the shelf for reference, a great springboard. Let me see. Learning your own chart and really always referencing it will make the best astrologer. Oh, I love it. Oh, cool. I must look up that book. I must look up Stephen Forrest as well. I think I've heard of Stephen Forrest, but I must look up his work. Breezy also said, "Your Mars is in Capricorn." Hey, bingo, with the same Mars. Framing your creative impulses as being whole as they are. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think creative impulses is a good word for it. I have these huge impulses. Oh, that's so true. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because the moon and Aries energy making that square to Mars. Yep, I get these impulses. I'm like, oh, I just want to create that now. Look, I have I have a list. Okay. I have a list of things that I want to create, but I can't start creating them until I finish. I have the psychology series, working through it. I'm disciplining myself. This is what my Saturn return taught me. With me having Saturn in Aquarius in the sixth house, I would also say with Capricorn in the fifth house, it taught me just the importance of discipline when it comes to my creative projects and just not taking on so many. It just gets to a point where it's just so overwhelming and so stressful. It's like, why am I doing this? Anyway, I'm trying to unfold the whys. Therapy is certainly helping. So, so in order to ask a more sort of detailed question about your chart, about this new moon, it is $10 per question. I just want to say that to any newcomers today. And if requested, yes, Natalie, I can look at predictions. The book is great. You've gifted it a bunch of times. Awesome. Good starter book. You know what? I'm going to write it down. I'm going to take note of that book because it has been recommended to me. Inner Sky, Stephen Forrest. Thank you. Trying to think if I have any books I would recommend. There's a few, but they're upstairs. I'd have to go get them. Good starter book, yeah. And Sorsha, in terms of positive or negative, it's not how we do things here. I wouldn't say that Mars going into Virgo is positive or negative. Vanessa, you said we love you, Hannah. Oh, thank you so much. I love you too. Thank you. Black Swan, Mars in Capricorn in the fifth is a great place to investigate for Virgo rising because it rules the eighth house, which is exalted in Capricorn. Awesome. It's good to know. Breezy, it reads like a story, like the hero's journey. Oh, okay. I need to get this book then. I clearly need to get this book. Maybe you could start on your impulse and hire someone else to finish it. You're the creator and ideas generator in someone else or a group where people could continue with what you start. Oh yeah. I know. I've considered hiring people. But I think when it comes to hiring people, I'm very how do I word this in a polite way? I'm very particular. I think I'd be very worried as well about, oh my gosh, like, is everything going to plan? Are they doing it right? Are they doing it to the standards that I want? I think I would be like really controlling. And I don't mean controlling as in trying to control the situation. I think just mentally I would just find that really hard. But yeah, I think being able to delegate tasks may be a useful thing. Though hiring people, getting new people to finish my projects, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And yes, I would say astrology is my passion. Certainly, yeah. I would say that because I always say that astrology found me, and I didn't necessarily go finding it. Yeah. Vanessa, the book is called The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest. Yes, it has been recommended by Breezy today. Apparently, it is a great read. And yeah, with astrology, it was something that I didn't necessarily I didn't know about it when I was younger. And in my adult years, I discovered it. So, well, I just said I'd say that anyway. Yeah. Astrology discovered me, okay? It discovered me. I know technically I discovered it, but still, all right, that's how it feels. It came looking for me. How egotistical does that sound? Oh my gosh. Anyways. So I think it just takes the right fit, miraculously showing up, timing. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's probably true. Maybe I should, yeah. Yeah, timing, definitely. You consider yourself to be an astrologer at this point. You know. Yeah, that big discovery. You see, okay, yes, these things do discover us, okay? Yes, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. It's been fun. It's been fun talking to you guys in the chat today. Thank you so much. And of course, Vanessa, thanks to Breezy for that recommendation. And that's awesome about you, Breezy, as well. Best of luck to you in your own astrology journey. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it here today. And if you did enjoy this presentation, if you did enjoy this presentation, you can always buy me a coffee by going to the link. The link is also available in the description box. And I hope that you find your horoscopes to be helpful. And thank you so much, Mito. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If I'm not, I do sincerely apologize. That was very kind of you to say. And yes, astrology. Yep. Definitely. Love it. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely Breezy. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. And again, if you did enjoy this presentation today, make sure to give this video a like. What if I don't like coffee? I love coffee, okay? Okay, coffee is the best. I have to have a coffee every day. You know how hard it was for me not having coffee for 2 days for being sick? That was terrible. Like terrible. That was hell. I'm clearly just playing around here. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. And if you did enjoy this presentation today, make sure to give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And best of luck during this new moon. I hope you find your horoscopes to be useful. I hope you find the presentation to be useful. And take care of yourselves. Thank you all so much. And I will talk to you all very soon. Yes, creator. I was sick. I had food poisoning, unfortunately. Peace. Yeah, I had food poisoning. So that's why I couldn't get on during the weekend. So it's on today. So yes, feeling much better now, thankfully. And thank you so much for saying take care. And take care to you all. I hope you have a lovely week ahead. And I will speak to you all very soon. Bye.